Welcome to Stories with Soul. I am your host, Jamey Ice, musician turned entrepreneur and co-founder of 6th Ave Homes and 6th Ave Storytelling. Over the past 10 years, I have launched multiple successful businesses and have become obsessed with all things entrepreneurship and marketing. I've been on a personal quest to unpack what it takes to make and grow a great brand. One thing that I've discovered is that stories are powerful and that storytelling has the power to set a brand apart. Join me as I dive into the stories of the heavy-hitting leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, and business owners in our community to hear their biggest wins, greatest losses, and their best business secrets. There's a story behind every great brand. Welcome to Stories with Soul. Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling, an organic marketing company building standout brands on the foundation of story. We help small businesses grow by crafting and sharing their stories, because when small business thrives, cities and communities prosper. Stories with Soul is brought to you by the Fort Worth Business Press, your source for news and business information in and around Fort Worth. Sign up for the Business Press's twice daily newsletter or become an insider using the storytelling coupon code STORYTELLING10, all one word, to stay up to date with the people, companies, and issues that matter most to Fort Worth. Head to fortworthbusiness.com to subscribe. I am a huge fan of the Business Press. I've been a subscriber for years. It keeps me up to date with everything that is going on in Fort Worth. Love it. Go subscribe for the newsletter. You won't regret it. Welcome to Stories with Soul. I am your host, Jamey Ice. I'm joined by my co-host, Jimmy Williams today, and we have a very special guest. It is my good friend, Taylor Dukes. We've known each other for a long time. But she is, I'm going to read a little bit of the bio real quick. You are a board certified family nurse practitioner, which is, that's cool. But more than that, she has a private practice, Taylor Dukes Wellness. She also co-founded a wellness center in Fort Worth, Restore and Revive, which is incredible. And I think like the crazy thing is you are like a health and wellness guru. I mean, huge following. You are the health coach and guide to a lot of professional athletes, a lot of influencers. I mean, you are, in my mind, like nurse practitioner is like, that's cool, but you are like a health guru in my mind. And kind of building this health empire.
I feel like entrepreneur of like a new movement of health and like how you view health within Fort Worth specifically.
Especially in Fort Worth.
Yeah,
this is a new thing for our city.
There are very few and far between wellness centers, right? And so like you're like one of the first leading kind of thought leaders in this industry, in this movement.
So stoked. One, I'm like crazy proud of you. And two, just like stoked to have you on and like kind of unpack your story. Our goal here is to unpack your story because I think stories just are matter, that they're neat. And then two, just the things that you have learned. A lot of this will be geared towards other entrepreneurs, other sort of thought leaders. And so what have you learned around your journey? So I would love to start. I have known you since college.
Yeah.
And you I feel like you had a transformation at some point where you kind of dove deep into this world. You were studying, did you study nursing in college?
Nursing, undergrad.
And you kind of took a deviation from the traditional nursing path to go on and become an entrepreneur and start all this stuff. And so walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. So it's funny you say entrepreneur path because I'm like, I never grew up wanting to be set out to be this entrepreneur. And in fact, when I was headed to college, my dad was so confused that I chose nursing as a major because he's like, you're a businesswoman. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Oh, your dad said that to you?
Yes.
Really?
But even from a young age, both my parents, I would like be trying to sell rocks and I would want to do the lemonade stands and I would set up a store at my house and have my sister come to the shop when it was open.
That's interesting.
And so it's interesting from a young age. It's things that I don't even remember, but they were really confused why I wasn't doing business. So I went to TCU, got my nursing degree. I was in that boating accident back in the day with Kristen Kilpatrick.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And so I was exposed to like some just crazy traumas.
I don't know about boating accident. Quick 30 seconds.
Segue. I was part of a boating accident. We were out at a private lake. It was a man-made lake on a ranch.
Okay.
And one of my best friends got run over by a pontoon boat, literally by the grace of God.
Kristen Kilpatrick, who's also a kind of a famous
Talk
photographer.
about famous photographer. Yeah. So she is like amazing and does shots all over the US, actually international now. But she, we ran over her on the boat, severed her arm, honestly didn't think she would make it. And by the grace of God, she did. And that changed.
And did you like step in and like,
everyone gives me credit. It was totally God. I tied the tourniquet. I like got the sling, you know, but anyway, all that to say, that was kind of a defining moment in my nursing career because I was like, okay, I want to do traumas. Like I just felt like I'm going to be a trauma ICU nurse.
you're like, I am into severed arms. So
No.
I can do that.
I just had like seen weird things. Like I saw a girl, you know, at the aardvark get hit by a car. I mean, these weird things that I felt like, I know they're really scary and weird, but I felt like, okay, this is God slowly like paving my path in the nursing field. And let's be honest, I was an adrenaline junkie. So I'm like, my goal was to be a helicopter flight nurse. And in order to do that, you have to go work in the ICU.
Oh, wow.
And so like trauma, a lot of times people like experience trauma or a dramatic event, something like that. And you either lean in or lean out or kind of get frozen, you know, that type of thing. And
Yeah,
so
I'm
you
like
were
covering my eyes.
So under pressure, I operate.
You're
like,
leaning in. Okay.
time slows
You
down.
like pressure.
Yeah. So like when there's traumatic situations, time slows down for me.
That's
like
right.
I think and I'm able to execute and like I didn't know that I was wired that way until I was in these situations.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to be a helicopter flight nurse, trauma ICU, adrenaline junkie. And that's what I did. I went and got a trauma ICU job.
Oh, you did?
Out of college.
Okay.
Yeah. And so adrenaline junkie, night nurse, looking back when we're going to talk about health and wellness, took a toll on my adrenals.
Okay.
Right. So I was stressed.
Because it was stressful.
So stressful as a new grad. And then not only that, I mean, the night shift, it just does a number on your circadian rhythm, your health. And then what really got me into this health and wellness space. So I was very traditional nursing. I honestly wasn't really healthy. I mean, I worked out. I would like drink green juice, but I've never had any health problems. So I never really cared about my health. So I had the opportunity to do some mission work abroad in Africa and Ecuador, nursing missions. So they were like extended long-term missions. I took a break from ICU, got really, really sick, had to get flown back to the States because I got so sick. I got sick in Africa, like some stomach stuff. But when I was in Ecuador, I got really sick and was super weak and had to get flown back.
Okay.
And so my health, honestly, I don't want to say it changed overnight because I look back and see different factors now that I know what I know now. But my health rapidly declined. And so here I was, 22 years old, out of college, never had health problems my entire life. I was losing hair. I couldn't get out of bed. And I'm like social, you know, adrenaline. You knew me.
Yeah,
I was super social.
You've always been very high energy. Like
Yes.
you have more energy than most people I know.
It's
and
true.
just like people. You're like, hey guys.
Yeah, and social and super involved, whether it's like with church, friends, you know, young professional events. And so here I was, 22 years old. My hair was falling out. I had joint pain. Like I didn't know you could even feel your joints at that age, you know.
You're like an old woman.
Yeah. I mean, I was so sick and gut stuff. My skin was a wreck. I was like reacting to everything. And so long story short, it was about a year or a little bit longer of going to multiple specialists, getting on medications, invasive procedures. People are trying to figure out what was wrong with me.
Yeah, because you still don't know. You're just
Right.
feel bad.
Yeah.
All these things are happening.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I was so confused because I was never the sick kid growing up.
Well, and you're a nurse. You're like,
Yes.
shouldn't I know what's wrong with me?
Well, here I am. I'm so convicted. I'm like, I'm a nurse that's supposed to advocate for my patients, and I couldn't advocate for myself. And so I got lost in our conventional medical system. And that's really when, you know, after being on all these medications, going through invasive procedures, you know, so much money on labs, diagnostic stuff, and no one really had answers. And it was just like a pill for an ill. So, of course, I was so desperate. I'm like, yeah, give me the pill that works. Let me try the pill. But after probably 8 different medications, my mom came and was basically living with me at the time, helping me. Like truly, I would nap in my car. I mean, this is like people that know me now don't believe it, you know, but my mom basically was like, something is seriously wrong. You've been to every single doctor and specialist. We've got to find out something, you know, something's going on. And so my parents sought out this doctor, a functional medicine integrative doctor in Austin. And I was like, that's so voodoo. I don't believe in that. I didn't learn that in nursing school.
And for people that don't know, functional medicine, like not traditional, go to the doctor. He's like, what's wrong? Here's your prescription. You know, go to this, take this pill for 90 days, 9 days, whatever. Not that. Give me like a
is
very
it?
quick version of like the difference, because there's a lot of similarities as well.
Right.
But
so I like to say I'm certified in functional medicine. So
Yep.
that's kind of, what I say, like a functional medicine expert. But integrative is probably a good way to explain it. Holistic gets a bad rap. So when you say integrative, you integrate both alternative methods as well as traditional methods. And so
Yeah.
using lab diagnostic workups, this is the approach that I take personally in my practice, as well as what helped me when I was really sick. So you still do evidence-based protocols, and you can use prescription therapy and imaging and lab testing. But where it differs is the conventional traditional medical model is more a pill for an ill type approach. You have a headache, here's a medication. You have female period issues, here's birth control. And so it's more just symptom suppression versus what I do. And what really helped me is all about asking why the symptoms are there in the first place, and then figuring out, okay, do we need to change your lifestyle? Are you reacting to foods? Is it a genetic thing? Is it an environmental chemical toxin? Is it a lot of it goes back to gut health? And so, replacing nutrients, things like that. And so anyway, I totally didn't believe in it. I thought it was voodoo, woo-woo.
Because like in college, did they is that like a faux pas? Did they even talk about that, or is that like, or is it explicitly anti that?
So I remember like one segment in my textbook that's called CAM, complementary and alternative medicine.
Okay.
And it would be like herbs or
Ginseng.
oils. Exactly. Like, don't take this if you are on a SSRI medication. Like, it was very, very, very short. And I remember, but I wasn't even interested. Like, I had no reason to be interested. All I cared about was how medications work, what you use them for.
So it wasn't anti that. It was just not.
It wasn't anti. No, it wasn't anti. It just wasn't really like
Even
talked
around.
about.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the reason I was super skeptical is because I'm like, but I didn't learn about this.
Yeah.
And I just didn't think it worked.
And you've never been to a doctor. I mean, I'd never been to a doctor that does that.
Right.
Like, so summary, integrative or like functional, you could call it integrative. We'll use those terms synonymously, would be still the same investigative process of like, what are your symptoms? Like, let's do some labs, let's do x-rays, let's do whatever we need to figure out what is going on. But the treatments are broader. It's not a
And you're looking to get
like
more to the root of the issue.
Exactly.
Not just treat here's a Band-Aid.
Right.
Yep.
So like if you have a headache, like I want to know what's causing it. Is it a magnesium deficiency? Is it a hormone imbalance? Is it
And where Advil still might be helpful.
right? Yeah. Or I have my natural remedies for headaches, you know. But it's like rather than suppressing the symptom, let's figure out why. And there are tons of different root causes, whether it's gut issues or headaches or whatever it is. You know, it's asking the why question. I think that's what really differentiates.
So you were sick. You were like clearly
let's get
sick.
back to the story.
You go to this lady.
Yeah. And I was very skeptical going into it. She was an MD, medical doctor, traditional medical training, got into the functional medicine world, and she literally changed my life. And a lot of it stemmed back to my gut issues. I was on thyroid medications. I was seeing the endocrinologist. You know, I had tons of prescriptions that I was on at that point. And then, you know, she took into consideration my lifestyle. She's like, you're in a super stressful environment as a new graduate, and you are working night shift, like your cortisol is affecting your health. You know, it was the perfect storm for me, for my body to just give up. And so while it really sucked at the time, like I mean, here I was this young girl that was super social, really felt like a hermit for a year and a half of my life. And I look back and I'm like, okay, God used all of that, right? Because had I not gotten sick and had I not gone through it, I would never know about this field of medicine. And so while my plans were to
found
be
your calling and purpose.
Exactly. And so once I experienced the profound benefits of changing my diet, changing my lifestyle, doing a root cause approach, you know, I haven't been on a medication in 10 years when I was on all these
Like 10
meds.
years?
Right. Yeah.
Not like a single.
No. But I mean, gosh, I'm trying to think. I'm like, was there anything for a situation? No. And so that's the thing is like from someone that was going from a highly medicated approach, because I just wanted to feel better. I didn't care how I did.
Are you against like medicine?
No, not at all. I prescribe every day.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. I just prescribe a handful of meds that can be, when I prescribe, I always weigh out the cost benefit analysis. And so sometimes it is more beneficial to be on a thyroid medication if you have an autoimmune thyroid disease than to get off. Yeah. So I'm just very mindful of when I prescribe and what I prescribe for.
So not against it.
No.
You're just like, you just think most of the time you don't need it.
It depends, you know?
If you tweak the diet.
Exactly.
Well, it depends on the root cause, right? Like if you're going to the root cause of it, I mean, from what you're saying, I'm like, doctor over here telling you.
Which, if you can't tell, you are very into.
I'm super like geeked out into this. Like
we both are. We both are fans.
So I am like, this is like my favorite podcast ever because it's like you're like speaking my language, because I haven't been on ever since I kind of changed diet and started to dive into functional medicine. I haven't been on a medication either. Haven't even run a fever. Like I barely have allergies. Like it's crazy. And my whole life struggled with all that. So, I'm like sold on it, but I want to like be devil's advocate too as well.
Yeah.
Just hearing the story. But so let's get back to the story. So you are
feeling better now.
But this has to be the most mind-blowing thing, because it was for me, is like when a doctor says, okay, well, what is this? And okay, you can use this supplement, and it's like ginger or something, it's like, or I don't know what the supplements were, but like, here's some supplements. And you're like, this is such like, it seems like bullshit. It's like, this is the weirdest thing ever to take a dandelion root and like to reduce inflammation. It's like, this doesn't make any sense at all, but you're like, okay, well, I'm a year and a half into this. I don't care what it is. Give me some sort of random flower from Africa and I will eat it at this point to make myself feel better. And you started to feel better.
100%.
Yeah.
And I will say it wasn't an overnight change, but the changes that I did make early on with my diet, my lifestyle, I did start noticing enough change early on that it motivated and compelled me to keep up, because I was like, there's something to this.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I was taking tons of supplements, changed my entire lifestyle. And it didn't make sense to me, because I was like, well, why should I avoid gluten when I've literally been able to tolerate it my entire life? Why all of a sudden? Well, when you get a parasite and it triggers gut inflammation, it can trigger sensitivities to certain things. And so now I know it all makes sense. But I was motivated because I was desperate, not because I believed in the process. And then in time, I started believing in the process. So much so that I was like, I will never, ever be able to go into traditional medicine again. It totally has its place. Like, I am so thankful for our emergency room. Y'all, I've been in third world countries. We have the best access to care. But where our medical system is really not getting it is in long term and getting to the root cause of chronic conditions. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I was like, all right, I can't even go back to the hospital. I've seen, like, once you've tasted and seen something, you're like, okay, this is like, what I have to do. And that's kind of how I got into this world. So it wasn't by choice. I always say you're either sick or you're smart. If you're smart, you're ahead of the curve, but I was sick, and that's how I got into it. And I'm super thankful. And so,
but I think it's a good note to know that this didn't happen overnight. You didn't even believe in it. You were just so desperate. You tried it, and it gave you a little bit of relief, a little bit of benefits. And over time, it obviously started to eradicate, tell me about like that transition from, okay, you started changing your diet, you started doing some supplements, you started doing some of these things, and you say you're not on medicine, right? So how did that transition? How long did that take? Where eventually you got off all of your medications, right? So like, you didn't believe in the process, you started doing it anyways, and then slowly you're obviously probably like diving in, learning about functional medicine. Like, what did that process, how long did that take of like, I'm like sold on it. I didn't believe it, but it's good enough. I'm going to keep trying it, to I'm all in.
Honestly, looking back, I would say like within 3 months, I was like, there's something to this. So much so that I was like, what kind of certification do I get? I enrolled at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition from Googling.
So not just I'm into it, I want to do this now.
Yes. Like, I had started experiencing the benefits, I would say probably pretty early on, enough. I can't remember the exact timeline. Like, I can say it took me over a year to heal my gut. Right. Yeah. So when I tell people realistically, I'm like, if you have a really messed up stomach, be patient in the process. Healing happens, but like, you have to be patient with your body. And so I wouldn't say like my health changed overnight, but it changed in such a short period of time in a drastic and profound way that I was like, okay, I'm in. Like, I started looking for jobs in this field. I didn't even know what to Google.
Did you quit your other job?
Yeah, I couldn't work at that point because I was so sick.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh.
So you weren't working, and you're like, I'm going to take this leap.
Yeah. So I enrolled at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Still, it's like actually the biggest health coaching program now, but that was back in 2012 when it was like, or 2013 when it was like hardly a thing, not on anyone's radar. I just did that because I was like, I just want to learn and immerse myself in, whatever education I could, and then ended up Googling, I think, functional integrative medicine, natural medicine, and ended up finding a provider that was hiring. It didn't say her name or location or anything. And it was in Austin. And I went for the interview, and it happened to be who is now a world-renowned expert who has New York Times best-selling books. And it was just the perfect place, the perfect time. It was Amy Myers at the time. She didn't have a practice anymore. She has a whole supplement line and, books and all of that. And she's, a really well-respected leader in this field.
And you had no experience in it, and she hired you still.
None. I just was personally
Why did she
interested.
hire you? This episode of Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling. At 6th Ave Storytelling, we know that stories aren't just for bedtime, they're powerful marketing tools, and we've seen what they can do. Want to see for yourself? Download our free PDF, The Storytelling Pathway, on our website, 6avstorytelling.com. It's everything your business needs to be successful. This is what I've used to grow my businesses and hundreds of others. It's a strategy that has led to #1 albums, built large followings, and has helped generate millions of dollars in revenue, thousands of leads, and tons of traffic. I've seen client after client reach their goals, which is why I'm crazy excited to share it with you today. I'm offering this for free because it's my personal mission to support small business owners and entrepreneurs no matter where they are at on their journey. Because small businesses are the heartbeat of a city, and they really are what make it special. 6th Avenue Storytelling has helped brands across the country grow their business using these exact steps. Head to 6avstorytelling.com and download the Storytelling Pathway to get your step-by-step guide today. Stories with Soul is brought to you by Fort Worth Business Press. The Fort Worth Business Press has been instrumental for me as a business owner. They were actually the first publication to ever cover 6th Avenue homes and also 6th Avenue Storytelling, which were huge wins for our companies. I also have been following along for years. I've been a subscriber. It has allowed me to keep up to date with everything that is happening in the business community and see what other business owners are doing and just stay involved in all sort of the economic development of what is happening in Fort Worth. If you are in any way involved in business, you should go subscribe and sign up for their publication, sign up for their twice daily newsletter, and they're actually offering a storytelling discount right now if you listen to the podcast. Become an insider using the storytelling code storytelling10, all one word, lowercase, to stay up to date with the people and companies and issues that matter most. Visit fortworthbusinesspress.com to sign up today.
I don't know.
Just because you were like...
it was her hiring manager, I guess, her office manager. They wanted a nurse. They wanted someone that was interested.
Yeah.
And so that's really where it was, the right place, right time. And so that's really how I got my foot into the field. And
From an expert, from
right.
the best of the best.
Right. She trained under Mark Hyman, all those people. So it was a huge blessing.
So how long did you do that?
I worked for her for several years. And then I knew after working in a private practice setting, I was like, all right. And I never wanted to go back to school. My plan, helicopter flight nurse, be kind of a stay-at-home mom, part-time RN, perfect job to work part-time and be a mom one day. Wasn't even dating anyone at the time, but that was just kind of what I envisioned my life.
Yeah.
And just because I was never like, oh, I love school. But then once I had experienced, the benefits of functional medicine, I knew that I could continue my education, start my own practice, see my own patients. I was like, all right, let's go. So I went back to nurse practitioner school, got my master's.
And were you working while you got your master's?
I was.
You do it online?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then I did my rotations.
I remember you doing
in person. You have to do your clinical rotations to get all your hours, which was so great that I was doing an online program because at the time I met my husband. We were on the fast track to marriage 7 months after meeting. We're married. He's an Air Force pilot. And so it was great that I was able to continue my rotations, while he was in the military.
Yeah. So you weren't working during that. Or you were?
I was working part-time remotely.
And so you were getting your nurse practitioners. What's that called?
Yeah.
Nurse practitioner. So my master's in science and nursing. So you get your undergrad. And then if you want to go get your master's in science and nursing, you can kind of choose a specialty, whether it's pediatrics or family or midwifery. And I just wanted to go the family practice.
Midwives.
Delivering babies.
Yeah.
I've never heard it called midwifery.
Really?
No, midwife. I guess that makes
Midwifery?
It sounds so medieval.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
Sorry, side note.
Midwifery practices.
So nurse practitioner though, like whenever you go to your doctor, right? Whenever you can't see the doctor, you're seeing the nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
Like,
The
most
nurse
people,
practitioner or physician assistant. It's like mid-level.
That's right.
Right.
You're right before you're going to med school, getting your get your MD, right? And so, but I guess like whenever people hear nurse practitioner, they're thinking like a lot of times it's like, well, you're not the doctor because you don't have MD in front of your name. And so like dispel some of that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I can say, I obviously started my own private practice and it is very, very rare. I don't know any nurse practitioner friends. I know 2 actually. They're colleagues in the field that own their own practice. It's very rare for a mid-level practitioner to own their own private practice.
Sure.
Usually they just work for MDs or DOs, but I guess that was the entrepreneur in me. I was
So,
like,
so at some point you said, I'm going to get my master's. I'm going to do this. And I want to do it my way. I want to do my own thing. Right.
Yeah.
Was that the goal when you were going back to school and doing all that?
I didn't know if I wanted to work for someone or if I wanted to open my own practice. I just knew that I could have a greater impact on patients seeing them as a practitioner. And it just made sense to me to start my own practice. I just never had this like defining moment of like, I'm going to go here to start my own private practice because I have plenty of amazing MD and DO, colleagues that I had the opportunity to work for. But I just really wanted to start my own private practice.
Yeah. So here's going to be an argument, and it's like people that are listening, right? They're going to have an argument that, well, you're not a doctor. Like you don't have, when, a lot of functional wellness places have a DO instead of an MD, right? They can't prescribe. But the benefits of a nurse practitioner is you have the ability to prescribe medicine like as a doctor would, but like you haven't done the MD, and there's going to be reasons for that, right? Like there's specific like strategic reasons for that. So like, but the argument is like, you're not as quote unquote qualified. Like why is that, why is that true? Why is that not true? Why is that wrong? Like, kind of go into that a little bit. I think that's
So for me, I never sought out to be a doctor.
Yeah.
That was never my plan. It's like, if I would have gone that route, I would have done a biology major, gone to med school, did that whole MCAT practice thing. I never even sought out to be a nurse practitioner, right? Remember,
That's
I was
right.
just going to be a nurse,
Yeah.
helicopter flight nurse. So, it made sense to me because I had already done the undergrad nursing route that I would just continue my master's. And for me personally, I mean, I did think about it. I'm like, do I go back to med school? What do I do? Because if you're an MD or DO, you can prescribe. Naturopaths can't prescribe in certain states.
okay.
And so for me personally, I just really spent a lot of time thinking and praying, like, what do I want to do with this? And so it just made sense to me every time I made the pro-con list or spent time in prayer or journaling. Everything that I wanted to be able to do with patients, I could do as a nurse practitioner. So for me personally, I didn't want to perform surgical procedures. I didn't want to work in a certain setting. I knew I wanted to do functional medicine. I knew I wanted to prescribe when necessary. And honestly, I could have just done a health coach and done that, but I wanted to take it to the next level. I wanted to be able to do labs. I'm kind of an evidence and data nerd. Like I like seeing clinical data and, information and then treating based off of that, not just like, well, I feel like you have this.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
it also is really helpful, with the patient population that I work with now. Like they want to see and then they're motivated to do stuff off of it. And I have a lot of experience, right? Like I can sit with the patient for an hour and a half and kind of know what's going on, but I still want lab testing to confirm.
That's right.
And I think that's interesting. From like when I feel like I kind of discovered this as you were kind of taking that journey, but I think that's one of the things that's interesting about what you do, and sort of about the new, the new version. This is still kind of new. There was always naturopaths. There was always DOs, but I think what's interesting about where it is now is like this. It's very, very scientific lab research based. It's very individualized. It's not just like, hey, take this flour, do this, don't eat gluten. It's not that. You're like, I'm looking at people's blood, and I'm looking at people's stool. I'm looking at, I'm like measuring
saliva,
all these.
urine, multiple things, and I use history and symptoms, and I believe my patients when they tell me things. I don't think they're crazy.
Yep.
Now, sometimes I'm like,
That sounds a little loaded. Does that mean a lot of people don't do that?
No. Oh my gosh. People, and so many people that come to see me, they feel like they've been dismissed. Their doctors have told them they're crazy. They need to get on this medication.
Yeah.
And, here's the thing, and I just got to say this at some point here, is that I cannot fault our traditional medical system because I've been through it and I wasn't trained that way.
Yeah.
What is
You
so
don't know what you
hard-
don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And the way our insurance model is set up is that when you're seeing people every 10 to, you have 10 to 15 minute visits max, unless you're going to a specialist, you have no time to get to the root cause. And so you don't have
Insurance
time.
makes you have a 10 to 15 minute
Insurance makes you have to see a certain amount of patients per day to
What?
actually make money. So if
No.
you get reimbursed. So like if you think about it,
So if I saw like 4 people today, they'd be like, we're not paying you?
No, they're going to pay you. You just don't.
You're not
going
gonna
to
make
make money. Yeah.
right. And
see what
so
you're saying.
that's where I'm like, I don't knock our traditional model because I've been through it. I've been trained, but you're having to see 30 to 50 patients a day. I mean, how can you ever get to the root
Yeah.
cause? Talk to them about their sleep, talk to them about their diet, talk to them about anything.
So the insurance plays in because insurance is so freaking expensive. You have to see so many people to make money for it to make sense.
Well, so you only get reimbursed so much per visit. And
Okay.
so if you want to make money, then you have to see a certain amount of people.
Okay.
Right? Because you're getting reimbursed by the insurance companies, Medicaid, Medicare.
Yeah.
And so what I do is it's all cash pay, which
You don't
is
take
hard.
insurance.
I
But now
don't.
you're not at the mercy of insurance. You're not at the mercy of these big giant machines.
Right. And so what I can do is I can spend an hour and a half, an hour with patients actually talking to them. Like we start with, how was your mother's pregnancy? Were you a C-section or vaginal birth? Because that affects your microbiome from a young age.
Yeah.
So if
Really?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
So, okay, let me lay it out really quick and then we can get back on in
Yeah,
our
get
lane.
it. Side note.
So if you are a C-section baby and if you were constantly having ear infections when you grew up and you're having strep throat, think about how many antibiotics and how your gut microbiome is going to be affected from a young age.
Yeah, you weren't getting all this stuff. I heard like with C-sections, they like will literally take
Yeah, it's called
like-
inoculation.
Yeah, they'll rub it on the kid.
The
to
good
get-
bacteria.
Yeah, 'cause that's your first. I'm popping out of this thing, and now I'm in the world, and I need that. That's why
Right.
it's good for your kids to play in dirt. They like need the
Yes,
bacteria.
it's good for the microbiome. And so with my patients, and when I have an hour and a half, I can go as far back to talk about those things, right? I talk about were you the sick kid growing up? Because if you had strep all the time, which antibiotics is a very
Had lots of
appropriate
antibiotics. Yeah.
treatment for strep. Yeah, but you can have fungal overgrowth. You can have a bad gut, and so we're going back. I'm asking people about their dental work. You don't talk about that with your doctor's offices, but if you have root canals, if you have mercury amalgams, there's a certain age cutoff. Now it's not common practice to use mercury, but you can have mercury toxicity, right? And so
Which
when
sounds like a crazy thing. So anecdote, my wife. You're good friends
Yeah.
with Melissa. So my wife has rheumatoid arthritis, and I remember one of the first times she went to all these doctors, all these different doctors and rheumatoid specialists. I don't know what they're rheumatologists. For years, and they were prescribing her stuff. They couldn't figure it out. It wasn't until she went to a functional medicine doctor who was like, you need to change your diet, you need to get off gluten, you need to take these supplements, that she had found relief from it. Like it was like a 3 to 4 year journey of just lots of pain, lots of heartache. So we are fans of that. But one of the things they went into was was your teeth and root canal. She had several root canals and had mercury in this, and the doctor literally, or the functional medicine doc, pulled out this chart and then was like, see this tooth right here? There's been a lot of science that shows this. If you have mercury here, it will cause rheumatoid arthritis. And that was the one tooth that she had the thing in.
trigger.
Freaking crazy. I didn't believe that when she told me that. And she was like, look, there's 20, you have 20 teeth, or I don't know how many teeth you have. This is the one tooth.
Yeah, I feel like I still kind of don't believe a lot of it, but
sounds
every
bonkers.
time it's kind of pretty much right, and so I'm like, dang
So
it.
she had it removed.
But
She
I-
had that.
Yeah, but I still do it because I'm like, it's probably right, but it still sounds so crazy. It's like, this is
That your
ridiculous.
tooth.
It
will
does,
affect-
but I think it makes sense. And when I can relay it to people, and I'm not in the business of convincing people, I have enough people that want to know that it works or
Yeah.
want the benefits, whatever. It's not like I spend my time persuading people of why they should
Yeah,
take this approach. But
that's
what
right.
it makes sense, the body as a whole. Everything in the body is related. Your gut affects your hormones, and your stress affects your hormones, and your joints can be heavily influenced. Mercury actually settles in your joints. So people that have mercury toxicity, there's a huge correlation with rheumatoid arthritis, no matter what tooth they had, right? It just makes sense that our bodies work as a whole. We don't think about breathing. We literally just breathe, but
Yeah.
the brain is constantly signaling our lungs. And so it makes sense when you think about the body as a whole. And I think with functional and integrative medicine, I'm not going to speak for all providers, providers, but we see the body as a whole versus compartmentalized systems.
Yeah.
Now, the GI doctor, the gastroenterologist has their place. Like, I refer patients when necessary for a scope, but at the same time, I'm not just going to say, you need to go to that doctor for that. You need to go to the joint doctor for this. We see the body as a whole. And so that's where you're able to get to root causes.
Yeah. Whenever I went to an allergy specialist, right? And they're like, you're allergic to these 3 things or these 4 things or whatever. And it's like, okay, great. Well, and then I went to the ear, nose, throat, ENT. And he's like, all right, well, we can do this surgery and take this. And I'm like, dang, dude. And honestly, I just didn't have enough money to pay for it. I was like, this is just too much money. My insurance was like, So I was like, all right, well, and then that's whenever someone told me about some sort of functional medicine stuff. And I was like, I'm kind of into trying new things. This is going to experiment with it. And so I'm like, here's my symptoms. I have bad allergies. I usually get a cold, basically that like lasts for 3 or 4 weeks. Sinus infection, that type of thing, right? And she was like, "Oh, your gut's awful. If you just change that, you need to do this, this, this," and give me like 3 or 4 things. And I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And like, I literally said that. I was like, that doesn't make sense at all. And then she explained, tried to go into it. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I don't have allergies. Like, what is going on here? So that was like the start of, and then I went back to the ENT guy and I was like, well, I don't have allergies because I changed this. And he's like, well, you still probably need to perform that procedure because, structurally, and there could be things structurally wrong. But I'm like, yeah, but if I just change this in my gut and I change my diet to this and do this, I don't have to ever do that. And he's like, I'm like, have you ever like recommended that? And he's like, well, he's never, it's like, I could see his mind.
Our brains don't think that way.
I could see his mind being like, that is a dumb, like he's never once, and he is so much smarter than me, but he's never once told a patient, just fix your gut health and change your diet and you won't have to come to me again.
That was like the rheumatologist like didn't understand.
It was like his mind was like, you are an idiot. And I'm like, but I don't have allergies. So you're an idiot. I didn't say that.
It's sad though, because I'm like, why aren't more people why don't more people know this? Why isn't it more mainstream? I will say from just traditional, conventional colleagues that I know that are doctors, own family practices, nurse practitioners, some of them are getting frustrated because they're not getting the results that they want with their patients. And then the patients are coming back for more medications. They're having more side effects, not all, right? And family practice, all these things, prevention, screenings, they all have their place. I'm not knocking.
Yeah.
But I will say I know a lot of colleagues that are frustrated because they're like, what are you doing for recurrent blah, blah, blah that keeps coming back? What's the functional medicine approach? Even if I don't believe it, I just want to know if there's something out there because, and here's what I say too, they only have a certain amount of tools in their tool belts and they're so smart and so wise, so knowledgeable. They have a lot of experience and they're really good at what they do when it comes to assessing, figuring out what the treatment is and pulling out a medication. In functional medicine, we have so many more tools in our tool belt. So I do have medications because I can prescribe, but I also have lifestyle and environmental. We look at that aspect. We look at nutrition. We look at supplementation. And so I just like to think of functional and integrative providers as we have more tools in our tool belt.
That's right.
Right?
Because some of the doctors I know, they're like, man, I want to be able to do that. I literally don't have time. I don't have, because of the insurance
Their
thing.
hands are
it's
tied.
like, they're like, man, I can't. And so they're having to refer, you need to also do this. Come to me for this, but also and a lot of them are trying to move to partner with integrative, type medicine people.
Is there
in their
though?
practices.
So some people are open to it.
Yeah.
It
Some
sounds
doctors are not, obviously. But.
Do you feel like there's also not a war, but it's do you have enemies who are like, she is a liar?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I know that with growth comes scrutiny.
Yeah.
And I've had a few people question certain things, but not yet. And I'm like, it will come for sure.
Do you feel the pressure at all? Maybe if you don't specifically have people that don't, but do you feel like there's a
stigma?
A stigma, yeah.
I feel like when I'm around doctors, I have doctors in my family. If I meet doctors, even my overseeing physician, doing a contract agreement and stuff, because I do have to have an overseeing physician. Even though I own my practice, I still have to have an agreement with him to operate my practice, pay him, things like that. So with that being said, I do feel a little sense of I have to justify what I do or explain a little bit.
But you're an underdog.
Kinda. A little bit. To okay, here's what I do and here's why. It's almost like a justification an explanation of how and why I do things. But honestly, at the end of the day, like, I don't feel like I'm constantly doing that. I feel like I view those opportunities as a way to educate people.
Okay.
Because I'm passionate about it, right? I may not be educating and equipping and empowering you to practice this way long term, because it takes tons of experience and certifications and training, but I at least want to open your mind. And so I personally don't feel that. I do have a lot of colleagues that have struggled with that, but because I own my own practice,
You're like, I can do whatever I want.
yeah, I have freedom.
So I want to
within reason.
I want to go back into that.
Yeah.
Because again, like there's, like you said, you don't know any nurse practitioners. That's what it is, right?
I know 2 that own their own practice.
2 in like Fort Worth or 2 in like everywhere?
I know 2, like, personally. I know of nurse practitioners that own their own practices. Like, you hear about them.
It's just not. I mean, I'm assuming it's a freaking lot of work to open up your own thing.
It's a lot. There's liability. And there's also, in the state of Texas, you can't own, we're one of very few states where, as a nurse practitioner, you can't own your own practice.
You have to have the doctor.
You can't operate.
I own my own practice. I own it, but I have to pay an overseeing physician. So financially, it doesn't make sense for a lot of mid-level practitioners, because by the time you pay for malpractice and you pay for an overseeing physician and operating expenses, they'd rather just work for someone.
Yeah.
But
So can you talk about a little bit just like making that leap, like what was hard about it, like why you're like, I'm doing this, like what was that? Because that's a very you are like guru at health stuff, but starting a business that's a whole other hat. That's a whole other tools in your tool belt, so to speak. Can you just talk about that process? Like what was hard about it? What was fun about it? Was there ever a point where you're like, I don't think I want to do this. I'm regretting this?
yeah. So I guess going back to I guess I had the entrepreneur in me that I just didn't know, and I never had that goal or set out for it. But as I was exposed along the way, I was just like, this is what I'm going to do. This is, and I helped other.
No turning back. You said it out loud.
Oh yeah. Like
So
I was
you're
like,
like-
I'm going back to school. I'm going to start my own practice. Like, even hearing myself say that, I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
No business courses, nothing like that. But I had enough industry experience, and especially working for Amy Meyer's practice, I was one of, at 1.5 employees. And so I wore a lot of different hats. And so, I knew a lot about everything from managing lab count at companies. Anytime we'd open up a lab count, I'd be the one meeting with the representative, negotiating special pricing agreements. And so in that role, I was actually exposed, even though it was a little bit stressful at the time, because I was like, I'm a nurse. I want to stay in my lane. I had the opportunity. And that's where I really look back. I was like so thankful that I had the opportunity to have these business meetings with supplement representatives, with lab companies. And I was just exposed to the business side. And that's also, I actually don't really think about this often. That's where I was afforded a really great experience to have business, segue into business experience, even though I didn't want it and it felt uncomfortable at times. Most of my colleagues, they don't have that business experience. So it doesn't make sense for them to start. They want to stay in their lane and practice.
Yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all about staying in your lane.
Yeah, but it's so hard. I mean, I just think about it like just from a doctor, you're going through medical school, and I'm sure there's business like classes in that, to some extent. Like, I don't know. Is there? Like whenever you're going
Honestly,
through,
I don't know because I didn't go through medical school,
Yeah,
but not really. There's a section that we went through on like coding and insurance and billing, because you want to be able to get insurance to cover your patient's
you're not
labs.
taking marketing
you're
classes.
not taking
how to
run,
y'all kidding?
operate.
You're taking organizational
No.
leadership.
Like,
Yeah.
I actually didn't know what
Classes.
marketing was when I started. Like, when everyone's like digital marketing, I'm like, does that mean it's just like online? Like, I'm not kidding. So that's why when it comes to like business advice, I'm like, I don't, but I just,
But you're now like
it happens. And I
really
guess
good at that.
it's fun for me and
Yeah.
it's natural. And, and now I know a lot more about funnels and, scaling and all these things now, and consulting and all that. But with that being said, yeah, that's where I got the business experience, I think, that compelled me to say, I'm just going to do this. And
Okay.
so was it scary? Heck yes. Are you kidding me? Even though I knew I wanted to do it and I was like all in, one of the things that hindered me was I was a military wife at the time. And so I didn't even know. I'm like, what if we get stationed in Japan or Germany?
Yeah.
I may not even be able to own my own practice. And so even
Yeah.
though I had this goal and vision, I didn't know when that would be.
And y'all got married and moved to
Abilene.
which is not the health metropolis.
Let's just say for my rotations. But honestly, I'm thankful because my traditional nursing school, it was good to get away from the functional model. Not everything's because of gluten, right? And so
Yeah.
it's really helpful, especially for pediatrics. I had that rotation to discern how do viruses present different than bacterial infections? And so it was a good refresher for me, you know? And so I was really thankful for that. But I was also like, oh, I've seen enough. I know why I'm choosing to do what I'm doing.
So big challenge was
not knowing military wife, which we obviously got out, and he's a veteran now. So it was perfect timing for me to start my own practice. But I think that also the biggest challenge is, you know, I took my nurse practitioner boards at 36 weeks pregnant. Whoa, which was a really big deal. And I said, if I don't pass these boards, and it's not uncommon to have to take them twice, I literally don't know if I'll ever become a nurse practitioner.
All right, guys, we're interrupting your podcast experience once again.
I know. I'm sorry.
But we are giving you something for free.
So it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
We recently released a document called The Storytelling Pathway on our website. It is our playbook for success, for growing brands, for marketing. That's literally everything that we do at 6th Avenue Storytelling, and we want to share it with the world. We want to give it to you.
So in addition to these nuggets that you're learning on this podcast, you can get our free playbook, free manual for how you grow your business from
6th Avenue Storytelling. Yeah, it's the storytelling, and it's really, really good.
Where do you find it?
It's 6thAvenueStorytelling.com.
There you go.
And it's good. Go get it. Go download it. I promise it's going to help your business.
Or start my practice or anything.
Because you're about to have a baby. And
I was like, I was going to be a nurse.
36 weeks. How many months is that? I'm not good at
math.
math.
I was like 2 to 3 weeks away from delivering a child.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like I'm like 32 weeks right now.
I can think in terms of like 8 months, 9 months. People talk like in weeks. I'm like,
all right,
once you get to 36, you're like, it's like coming any day.
You're like, cooking.
Oh, that would make sense. So 9 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
I just don't do
No,
math.
Guys think in months. Like I get it. I'm 8 months pregnant right now. I'm about to have my other baby.
I can
and so
understand that.
what I do is I grow business babies and real babies at the same time. I'm like kind of not kidding. And so as I was growing this real baby, I was working on my practice. I was working on the branding. I did a photo shoot. When I found out I was pregnant in February, I was like, I got to do a photo shoot because I'm about to be pregnant. So if I want to start my practice, I didn't know anything about marketing, but I knew that I didn't want to take
That's intuitive. That's pretty smart.
Right. So there's just little things along the way. But I think this scariest thing for me was at that point when I was further along in my pregnancy, I knew we were going to be moving to Fort Worth. And so I wanted to start a practice. But it was scary for me knowing I'm going to have this newborn baby and I have an obligation to start a private practice. And then on top of that, I'd also co-founded the Wellness Center at the same time. So it was really challenging. I'm thankful that I was pregnant.
What year was that? That was
2019.
2019.
Mm-hmm.
So. Because you're co-founded the Wellness Center, and within the Wellness Center is your practice, and so which you are the owner of.
And the Wellness Center is Restore and Revive.
Yes, and I have an amazing business partner, Dabney, who we co-founded that together, and then my practice is separate.
That's right.
Real quick, so explain that.
Yeah,
like not explain your partner, but you and Dabney at some point were like, let's make a wellness center. While I'm starting
private practice.
Why? Why did you do that?
It actually didn't play out like that. Her and I had conversations for 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And she had her own personal journey. So she got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes after having her baby, she is a type 1 diabetic. So she relies on medication. That's a perfect example of medication is not only helpful and necessary, but life-saving, right? Yeah. So she has type 1 and she had experienced the profound benefits of lifestyle, education, reducing toxins, nutrition. And so I had gone through my health journey. I used to go to her workout classes in college. She would host them for college kids. And I babysat for her daughter. I mean, it was just the craziest thing we had because she's a little bit older than me. So we had these touch and go points and we had both kind of had our own healing journeys. And we're like, wouldn't it be cool to start something? Well, then I met my husband. I moved. It was just like we always had this dream and goal and vision. And her and I were seriously planning, like had location, everything. And I met my husband. And I was like, all right, I know we don't have anything in writing. Yeah, I was like, I know we don't have anything in writing. It was the hardest thing ever, but I had to tell her, I don't think it's going to work because I'm about to be a military wife. He has a minimum of 7-year contract, I think, at that point. So we just kind of like, it was a conversation at that point that was kind of like, it's not going to become a reality. When we found out my husband was getting out of the Air Force, it was like, it's go time. Yeah. This is happening. We didn't think it was going to happen. And so even though the timing was crazy, I was commuting back and forth to meet with lawyers and accountants. And
the vision for the Wellness Center, what is that?
Yeah. So the vision for the Wellness Center was like, we refer in the wellness community. I'm not an expert for end all be all, right? I refer to chiropractic. I refer to biological dentist. I refer to massage, physical therapy, things like that. And so for me personally and Dabney, we just wanted to we refer out so much. She was working with nutrition clients at the time for her own business. And so we were like, wouldn't it be cool to just get everything under one roof? Not
like a hub.
everything.
You wanted to make a hub.
Right. Within house, get subspecialties because we can't be everything to everybody. And so let's get a bunch of different experts under one roof and then offer some of these therapies like IV vitamins and saunas and things like that. And so that was kind of our vision.
And was part of that vision also because that just didn't exist in Fort Worth at the time?
Exactly. Yeah, there was something similar, a little bit outside of Fort Worth, but not to it was what we wanted was very different. It was a little more, we call ourselves medically minded, but functionally focused. And so.
Medically minded, functionally focused.
That's a great
I guess that's a tagline.
That's a good tagline.
I was like, don't ask me my mission statement. I would have to Google it.
Dude, that's a good one right there.
Yeah. So that's why we wanted to do that. And so it wasn't that I planned to start the wellness center, and my practice at the same time. It just happened to be
baby moving wellness center practice.
I had my son September 10th, and the first day of business for my practice in the wellness center were January 14th, 2020. So it was crazy. My friends that knew me knew yeah, you're busy. I know you're planning, but now they're I had no idea what you were going through. And thank God I had a good postpartum because
yeah,
mentally and physically, I mean, I couldn't have done it, but with this baby, I'm I'm taking time off. I've worked my booty off.
Good. So you have a 3-month-old and you're starting. I mean, that's hard.
It was so hard. Not only, my husband was getting out of the military, right? Transitioning to civilian life, starting a job, starting an MBA, moving cities. It was really hard. And so I would say those were all difficult. I look back,
that sounds just like a recipe for a bomb.
It was hard. It was a hard year.
Did you?
Sounds like losing hair, bad skin. It sounds like that's where it's about to go again.
Well, thank God I know how to take care of my body because I really do feel we're not made to sustain those seasons. I don't believe in that pace, but. You guys know, as entrepreneurs, it takes work and showing up and things that no one knows, figuring out if the Wi-Fi is connected, making sure the delivery is coordinated. And so
there's no such thing. I talk a lot of just with our team and people, I talk a lot about balance. And I think balance is a myth.
What's that?
There's no, if you are a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have your own thing, there's no such thing as I work 4 hours and I'm off for
that's called a job. Yeah. That's not owning a business.
Do you ever have an out of office email?
Yeah.
What is that?
But I'm a believer in balance. For me, is I swing really, really, really hard into things for a season, and then I can swing out. And when you're launching a business, when you're starting a new thing, when you're opening the doors, it's all in. There's no I'm kind you have to be. It doesn't work. You can't get it off the ground. And they're always really hard. Every business I've started is I'm all in. I'm not sleeping. It's super stressful. But you get through it. It's kind of like having a baby. I'm not sleeping for 3 months. And now he's smiling and sleeping.
Rarely do you do those at the same time.
I did both, and it was crazy. But I would agree with you. It's I call them sprint seasons.
Yeah,
it's we're full speed ahead and we're sprinting. And this is what I've learned as an entrepreneur. And even having a team, I have an amazing team at the Wellness Center, and I have my own personal built out team of 7 employees for Taylor Dukes Wellness. It's not just me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And managing people and the amount of time that you spend, when you have people on payroll, right? I've had contractors, but I have more full-time employees now for my business because it just made sense and to bring them on, and everybody stays in their own lane, and it's allowed me to grow and things like that.
You have 7 full-time employees for
just your practice.
Taylor Dukes.
No, I have 4 full-time employees, and then I have some contractors, but I'm moving towards more of the full-time employees. And so with that being said, even delegating, even checking off, okay, I'm going to approve this edit for this PR feature, or I'm going to sign off on this, because everything that comes back to my name, I want it to represent what I believe in, right? And so certain articles, features, things like that. So what I've realized is that, and then I'm also seeing patients too, and so it's, even as a business owner, I feel like you have those sprint seasons, but then you also have things that you may not be doing the work. You may be delegating, overseeing, managing, right? You guys probably feel that too, that it's I didn't do the meeting, but I'm doing all the other things to make the decisions.
Yeah.
And so
you got to make sure it's on brand. It's
exactly.
Right. It's the right decisions.
So I feel like right now I'm in a decision-making season. R&R, it just expanded, which is amazing. But with having this baby, I've slowed down with patients and taking on one-on-one, just because.
Through any of that, was there any point where you're like, I regret this?
Had a really hard moment. I never regretted it. Like, I really don't even know. I haven't had regrets so far. Maybe ask me in 4 years.
but the reason,
what's the hard moment?
The hard moment. Okay, so we started Restore and Revive January 14th, 2020. Guess what happened 2 months later?
Bum, bum.
Yeah.
We know. So our whole world went into a lockdown, right? And
After you launched this new business.
Yeah, we started January 14th and health and wellness. And then I remember it was March time frame.
And when it started, we were like, this is awesome.
We're going to crush it.
Oh my gosh, y'all.
Yeah.
Well, the momentum was amazing.
Yeah.
The momentum was amazing because there was a demand for it in Fort Worth. People were experiencing.
People wanted that.
Yeah, I mean, the momentum was awesome.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic
I will give you credit too. You marketed it like y'all. For someone that
doesn't have experience.
Yeah,
didn't know what marketing was.
Didn't know what marketing was.
Yeah.
Okay, I've learned.
Yeah.
I like knew. And that's intuitively, I've made some decisions that I'm like, I've never gone to a business strategy class. Like, I've never gone to this like marketing seminar. I have
It
now
probably set you up for success. I think there's a little like some naivety and
yeah,
no
and not the
rules.
perfect equation. Well, now I've invested in mentors. Like, I definitely see the value of like, I'm like, I definitely don't want to say that I figured it out myself because I have invested in mentors to help me and to get to that next level and help me. What do you enjoy? What are your gifts? Where is this brand going long term? So I definitely can't take all that credit. But yeah, at the time, y'all are sweet. The rollout and everything was exciting. And we both were connected in the Fort Worth community. I think that really helped to get people through the door.
Because you went to TCU. I wanted to ask Fort Worth, because you had bounced. You were in Austin for a little while. You're from Austin, right?
Yeah, but Fort Worth felt like home. I mean, it was like where I went to college. Most of my friends, I like feel like I became who I was in Fort Worth.
You built a community here.
Yeah, totally. And so I was living here post college. After I was sick, I was spending time in Austin, and that's where I had my first job. But then I knew I wanted to come back to Fort Worth. So in fact, I was working for that private practice in Austin for Amy Myers, and I knew I wanted to be in Fort Worth. So I started working for her remotely as a nurse.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to be in Fort Worth. And then, the rest was history with the military and getting back here. But so the pandemic hit.
So you launched it. It's rocking and rolling.
Yes.
Then the pandemic hits.
Awesome momentum. And of course, it's January. We couldn't have timed it better. It just happened to be.
And you now have employees. You have
payroll.
lease, you have
debt like crazy because you just finished out a huge space.
We just started.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, it was like January, people are motivated because their health goals. It was just the perfect opportunity to launch something health and wellness. Whether it's trendy or not, people want to get on the cleanses and the diets and a reset. So it was a great opportunity. So the pandemic hit, and that was really challenging, not in a sense of like, what were we thinking? Oh my gosh, this is awful. It was challenging in a way that we had to get really creative. And there was just a lot of gray areas. Like, do we stay open? Okay, we have a medical director. We can, but are we incentivizing people to get out? Okay, but we can provide immune therapy, right? And so it was a lot of...
Like, you feel guilty by...
We just didn't know at the time.
Well, you don't know how bad this is. Like, you don't know, like...
We didn't know.
If you open, you can maybe help people or like... give them immune support or something like that. But at the same time, it's like, you don't want to encourage people to get out and then get sick or get,
There was just no equation.
Yeah, that's right.
And so as a business owner, there's no, what I'm learned and what Dabney has learned is there's no manual for so many situations. Like there's no X, Y equals Z. It's making decisions, properly disseminating information, doing the best you can with information that you have that not everybody knows, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where it's good to have a sounding board and a partner. And, our husbands are super helpful in, ways too. And so that was really challenging. I feel like here I had a 5-month-old, 6-month-old at the time. We were working every Saturday. We didn't have Saturday staff, so we'd alternate, or she'd be the nurse, I'd be the front desk admin. We'd work after hours, we'd work late at night, we'd have board meetings, and then, we just got creative. So we did supplement deliveries. We did little immunity care packages to people's houses. I remember driving to Mira Vista. I'm like, how far is our radius? Like, we got to cap this. Have a baby.
You were personally delivering stuff.
Yeah. Come on. We're 2 months into a startup.
You have a 4-month-old or 3 months.
I had a 6-month-old
at the time.
And I remember he was fussing, and I'm like, okay, I'm changing his diaper. I vividly remember this. I'm in a bank parking lot on the way to Mira Vista, changing my baby's diaper, going to deliver supplements.
Dude, that is business ownership.
Those are the moments that you're like, you can't make this up. I could pull up a picture on my phone of Ryder at 2 weeks old because I delivered at the birth center. We thought we'd be living here at the time. We were living in Abilene. So I came here in labor, delivered him. At my two-week checkup, we had a huge meeting with construction guys, an accountant, a lawyer, and my baby is swaddled up in the corner of our future business. Like I literally have the picture that I'm
that's
like,
cool.
So I'm like, when I'm not kidding, when I grow business babies and real babies, that's the thing.
That's right.
But with that being said, we just wore a lot of hats. It was really challenging. There was no equation. We worked a lot of Saturdays. Her and I were filling in, for staff because we had people on the payroll, and I'm proud to say that we were able to keep everybody.
Dude,
and that
awesome.
was something that was really scary for us, and we never wavered in because these people in faith quit their jobs to come work for us full time. And so we didn't know how long it would last. It was very scary. I mean, paycheck protection loan, that was helpful too.
Yes.
Huge blessing. But at the same time, I mean, even that's the thing that how do I pay? How do I apply for this? What's my EIN number?
That was so stressful. Yeah.
Like it just seemed too good to be true.
Banks were all running out of money. Yeah.
So anyway, all those things, it was hard, but I've never regretted it or wavered or anything like that. And it's been really helpful having a partner, and then obviously a supportive husband.
And the reason was like, I want to help people. Like,
that is still our mission. We're like, let's help people get to the root cause of their problems.
People need this.
Let's make it accessible. And I mean, looking back, I'm like, I haven't made $1 from R&R. Truly, I can say that me and Dabney are not on the payroll.
So Restore and Revive, y'all don't make money from that yet.
No, right?
Yeah.
And so we do it because we genuinely love it, and because we want to provide it to the Fort Worth community, and it's worth it to us. Now, with that being said, I have never worked so hard
to not make money,
to never make a penny in my life, right? But we would rather have the support staff and have the space, and everything is calculated, right? In wisdom, right? We make these calculations. But at the same time, I mean, it definitely is a sacrifice that you work so hard to not see the fruit of your labor right then. And so,
but your practice is going really well.
Yeah.
Like, and on some level, COVID cripples you for a little bit. And then it also, I feel like people got more excited or interested or cared more about health.
Yes.
Than ever before.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Like, so I think COVID was a big help, like a boost in that. But there has been
a new movement. Sort of.
I would say a movement. I don't know. You would know. I just feel it because I'm into it. So maybe I'm just naive. But I feel like there has been maybe a subculture or a small culture, at least a cultural shift or a movement into, you know what, maybe like our Western medicine practices are great, and no one's going to argue that. Like, you got a broken arm, like there's x-rays, you can fix it. Like penicillin, like there's things like that we do that just are absolutely amazing compared to everywhere else in the world. But there it's not like perfect. And there's ways that we can make this better. And I feel like people are starting to integrate more of these philosophical or ideologies that have been, been around longer than Western medicine into, and create this integrative type, approach. And so when did you see that start happening within like culture? Obviously you saw it early on, but like, do you feel like COVID has boosted that? Has it been like an explosion? Like, when did that happen? Was that pre-COVID and we're just dumb to it? Like, tell us kind of your thoughts on that.
No, because y'all know y'all are the freaks. Like, y'all are the freaks that talk about this, and none of your other friends do.
Yeah,
maybe a few.
Yeah.
I feel like it's multifaceted. So to answer your question with the COVID, we talk about the blessing, the silver lining and things, right? Like, what's the good that came out of it? Which is cheesy, but true. And I think that I have seen a lot more people start to care about their immune systems and how their body works. And I would say the sad part is that a lot of it's in fear. A lot of people are motivated by fear. Out of fear, what can I do? And even if I'm doing everything else conventionally, can I also do some alternative stuff? And so I think it's good because it opens people's eyes to ask questions. And who knows, this could be a turning and trajectory point for our entire healthcare system of like, we can't let what happened then happen now, right? And so I think that fear has motivated a lot of people.
Which isn't necessarily bad. Like,
no,
it isn't. Like,
no, I'm like, it's sad because it's sad because I'm like, I don't want people living in fear and making decisions out of that. And there's a lot of mental health going on in our country right now, right? Like I'm seeing it in my practice, and the fear and all of that. But with that being said, it's compelling them to care more about their body and their health and their immune systems. And so I think that's like really cool and exciting to see. And I've definitely seen that. We've seen that at the Wellness Center, as well as professionally in my practice. And it's also, I think, something that I think has been really cool is to see my friends, that none of them were into this. And honestly, if you're not sick or you don't care. Like, why would you?
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
like if your elbow's not broken, you're not thinking about your elbow.
Totally. And I
you know?
never thought about my health. Like I said, I'm like, joint pain. Like, what? I don't feel my joints. Why would I think about my joints? But if you wake up and feel like you've been gripping a steering wheel all night and are in pain, like, you're going to think about that. And so I will say I've seen a lot of my friends, and a lot of it comes from education. And that's where, Instagram, I get it. It can be taken away overnight. But I try to use it as an educational platform. And it's not, I don't have this like hardcore voice of like, you have to do this, shame on you if you don't do it this way. But I try to use it as a platform to educate people. And so I feel like in the process, a lot of personal friends, but then also influencers or whatever, like people are starting to learn that there's another way out there. And so asking the question of like, well, what could I do differently? Or what could be hindering my health that I've never thought about, like inflammatory foods or toxic chemicals. And so I've seen it personally just within my group, but then also professionally, with the demand for people wanting the functional medicine approach. And then the wellness center seeing certain IVs pick up, and immunity therapy.
I will say, like, for me, like in the heart of lockdown world, we didn't go out. Everyone kind of locked in, stopped going out to eat, all that stuff. The two things two big, so a lot of expenses went down, but my two expenses that went way up was one, my wine consumption. We were buying a lot of wine.
We were buying a lot of wine.
I mean, me too.
Lots of wine.
Is that part of your supplemental process?
Do you know about biodynamic wine that's like free of pesticides and chemicals?
Yeah, it just doesn't taste very good.
Yeah,
the natural wines.
Yeah. What about the good stuff?
My wine went up, and my vitamins and supplements went way and I got hooked on it. I got way more into, because I was like, holy crap, I don't know what's happening. No one knows what's happening. I want to put my body in the best shape it can be in. And so spent money on wine, spent lots
Amazon
and lots
Prime,
of money.
wine, and supplements.
Or tequila.
Whatever it was you're into.
The drink, the beverage of choice. No, totally.
But for your industry, that
right. It was a huge blessing. And I mean, we couldn't keep certain supplements on the shelves. We'd have to order in bulk because the suppliers were selling out. And so, it definitely that was the most challenging part, but I think it's also been a really good part of growth and demand for this
and then you experienced just and maybe for me as an outsider, it felt like kind of overnight rapid success. Like talking about Instagram, I felt like you got on Instagram and just started saying, just giving people helpful information. Here's something I learned. Here's something I'm learning right now. Here's 5 tips for your gut. Here's 5, things for information.
Me.
You just started sharing helpful information. You were just very generous, super generous with what you know. And you went from like having, your friends and family, 1,000 or so followers to like tens and thousands of followers, like to what looks like me, like overnight.
Yeah.
And then you went from like, hey, we have this thing, come hire me, to now I have a waiting list for a year. Like you literally have a waiting list for a year, right?
Well, we haven't taken new patients since March. It's awful. It's a problem, and it's a good problem because the demand's there.
You're helping like NFL athletes and influencers, and so it exploded, right?
It did. It really did, and it was something that growth is a really good thing, but it can be a really hard thing.
How is it a hard thing?
It was hard for me in the sense that, and you're right, like I just want to go back to that. I showed up and provided a lot of free content and information because I genuinely care about educating, equipping, empowering people. That's what I want to do.
Voice of reason, giving people advice through all of it.
It's like fun for me. And it's not a job or a chore. And Instagram definitely has converted to a lot of business for me. Like I don't pay for marketing. I don't pay for promotions. I don't.
Yeah, you're sharing stories.
Exactly. And it's showing up and sharing real daily life. But I will say that has paid off dividends. The showing up with the free content education has really been helpful for me. But
that's probably your number one like marketing hack, right?
I would say yes, but I've also realized, and through having mentors, Instagram app could fizzle overnight. So to not put your marketing into one thing, and I own my email list, and so if I have emails and say that I want to do something or launch a course, I can share that with them. But if Instagram were to fizzle overnight, and that's all that you have,
so you're trying to get people off the platform.
Well, not really. I guess that's not really I guess I'm like what I've realized is that like that has been the biggest. It has generated I don't make necessarily a ton of money on Instagram through like affiliates or whatever, but like that directly generates to business referrals, paying clients, paying patients. And so it's been a huge avenue for me, but also important to realize from a marketing standpoint is like you have to have a presence in multiple, whether it's an online presence through a website or a blog people can visit. If Instagram were to fizzle, they would miss you. They're like, what's that article again? Or having a newsletter like, hey, this is where we are, something like that. And so kind of went off tangent. But that I do feel like just showing up. I started my Instagram 2 years ago when my son was born. He just turned 2. So it has been pretty crazy growth. And it's just also people genuinely sharing like when they work with me, what happens. And it's HIPAA. I can never ask a client, patient. I have never said, hey, if you come work with me and share your story, I'll give you free healthcare.
Yeah.
I've worked with influencers that have 1 million followers that didn't share that we worked together for 6 months. And then all of a sudden they chose to share and that's their prerogative, right? I can't ask that. That's HIPAA. So that was the question kind of just showing up. It has led to business. But what was your other question?
Well, it just seemed overnight. I mean, was there a point where you were like, this is working, I'm success? Like, do you feel successful?
I feel like success is also like, what do you define it as, right? Like, am I still doing what I love? And am I still aligning with like educating, equipping, empowering people? Yes, for sure. Right. And so like, to me, I'm like, that was how I defined success from the beginning of like, this is what I want to do. And am I doing it? Yes. And I'm doing it at a larger scale. So I would say yes. I feel like it's also been hard. The hardest thing for me, I know what you were talking about. You were talking about the growth and having this wait list is like, I'm a 2, Enneagram 2, right? We don't have to talk about Enneagrams.
You're the helper. You want to help people.
I'm a helper. And I naturally, it's like in me to want to help, right?
And you're like, 2s are also like as happy or unhappy as like the unhappiest person in the room. Because they're like, I just want to help whoever's not happy.
Yeah, like you just want to help people.
If people around you are happy, you're like, you just want to help. Yeah,
which is also hard and a downfall because I want to help everybody else and you neglect yourself sometimes, right? In the name of helping everybody else. So that's something that I've really found a balance as an entrepreneur, a working mom. It was hard for me because I would say yes to taking a patient on a Tuesday evening over the phone versus getting my own quiet time or kicking my feet up. I have much more balance now. So I think the hardest part for me is when the growth and demand came is that I knew and realized that I could not be everything to everybody. And so I was trying to accommodate and get all these people in and do weekends and nights and giving free health consults essentially, and it just came to the point where it was taking away from my family and my personal time. And so I really had to set boundaries and realize, you know what, Taylor, you're not going to be everything to everybody.
And was that hard for you?
Oh, so hard, like so hard. But when I heard that and accepted that, and that's the thing I was trying to keep up. And then, of course, I'm getting these referrals from these like top NFL athletes and teams, and a coach from the Bills, was in touch with me, setting me up with all his receivers. And I'm like, this is so exciting. And this is like something I never sought out.
Yes. And then you're having to say maybe or no.
Or, hey, the best way that I can provide care is only taking on this many patients. And I never got to the point, I can honestly say, I never got to the point where quality of care was compromised because like I have too much in check.
There,
Yes. But I did get to the point where I said, I won't be everything to everybody. And I don't have this plan to grow this mega practice because honestly, if people are practicing under you, they have to represent what you believe. And there are too many weird people in this space, in the integrative space.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like.
Are there some weirdos out there? Like,
oh, dude. Yes. I listen to it and I'm like, because one of my questions is going to be, why is this rejected still? And I feel like it's because of the lady that's like took a course and all of a sudden she's a health coach or a guy and they're like, if all you do is practice this type of yoga, you will be healed of everything. And it's like, something like, that's so dumb.
Which, to piggyback off of that, I would argue probably a big amount of your success also comes from the fact that like you are very normal and likable. You're like a normal,
and I feel like
reasonable
integrative medicine. The way you described it, like, makes sense. You are saying, listen, we are diagnosing, we are doing everything. We're just taking more time. We're digging into the roots and we have more tools on our tool belt. We're not rejecting Western medicine. We're adding to it.
Yeah.
It's
but you're not like.
Do you want to be my spokesperson?
Well, yeah, seriously, I am.
Is that my mission statement now?
Well, yeah, maybe so.
But you're not like the pie in the sky, fluffy, like you've never been that.
No. And I'm like, yeah, heck yeah. If you are like super anxious, flighty person, constantly on overdrive, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Go get your feet in the ground. Literally kick your shoes off, do some deep breathing, chill out, right? Like I do incorporate grounding and mindfulness and, eat your kale and all of that, but it's so much more than that. And that's where a lot of people do get a bad rap and I honestly, it's also so many people. There's a couple people that I'm seeing in Texas. I won't say names or where exactly. I have patients come to me that have spent over $2,000 on testing with no plans. So there's also people claiming to do this with no experience, and they might know the lab company to set up an account with. And so they have all this data and information, and then they're like, follow this diet. And I'm like, that diet can help with symptom relief, but that's never going to treat your small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Like you need true therapy for this. And so I think that a lot of people are wanting to get into this that don't have a clinical experience. And then people are having bad experiences with that. And financially, it's like, oh, I spent this much money on labs, which it can add up, right?
Yeah, sure.
But you're going to save yourself so much money long term by getting to the root cause. But yeah.
And if there's something to invest in,
right,
spending money on your health,
it affects everything.
Why would that should be the most important thing you spend money on?
Yeah.
Well, when you don't have your health, like that's what I realized when I was sick. You don't have anything. Like, you can't show up for your family. If you have a family, you're not going to work out. You're not going to have a social life. You're not going to make good business decisions. And so for me, it's like, when your health is taken away from you, you realize how much it impacts.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. But anyway, when we had that wait list, I knew I was at that crossroads of I'm not going to be everything to everybody. I have to stop taking people. There were over 2,000 people on the wait list. Like I knew I will never, ever be able to, right? That just will never. And I also want to be a mom and a wife and a friend. And so with that being said, I hired a full-time physician assistant. And so when she started in March, I had basically sent out to my wait list, hey guys, it's not me. We're going to be collaborating on cases. I hired someone that I trust who was a registered dietitian, physician assistant.
And not weird.
Not weird. So normal, so cute, loves the Lord, just amazing. And we've known each other for years. And I got her to come work for me. And that was my way of, okay, this may not be me helping everybody what I envisioned of success, right? Like, but I'm going to have an extension of me that I like, know, and trust. And she is going to represent the practice well. And she still is.
And that's what leadership is you're raising up other leaders. I'm going to train them and empower them.
Yes. And so she's been great. And so she's taken on a huge part of my wait list so that I can, and I miss doing everyday patient stuff. But as a business owner, I always, our husbands are like, stay in your lane. What's your lane? But as a business owner, you have to wear a ton of different hats. And, I have to do payroll now and I have to do different things and meet with the accountants and quarterly taxes, all these things that I never really knew I'd have to do, but you do spend time in those places. And now I'm hiring help to help.
So what is like 5 years from now, or like what, if it sounds like at some level, there's like a ceiling to the growth. Like it just,
or do you said you don't want to be the biggest, but like,
I honestly don't know, y'all, because I'm like, I couldn't have told you that I wanted to be here. It just kind of happened. And like, I never thought that I love working with NFL players, and these people care about their bodies. They want to invest. I never sought out to be a professional athlete's health consultant, right? It just happened.
Yeah.
But now I've found that I like working with just a regular old stay-at-home mom, right? But it's been fun to change things up. And so, I would love to like kind of affect sports on a higher level, because these people, it's like an industry where they have the money to invest. They care about their bodies. It's like a sports car. If you're a driver, you're going to put the good stuff into your car, the good fuel, the good tires. And these people have one body. And so, I have really developed like a heart for them, not just because they're famous, because they're NFL players, is that they're operating at this level that their bodies are a wreck. Truly. And so making little tiny tweaks in their lifestyles can literally shift them to go to the next level. And so that's been really cool for me, because I've worked with a lot of really sick people, which I still enjoy, but I also enjoy seeing some of that, like, oh, wow, this changed overnight, And so I think like working with a variety of people, some people that are really sick, and then working with some of those people like professional athletes that just want to take their health to the next level. I want to write a book.
Yeah? Have you started it?
No. I've never thought that I wanted to be like an author. No. And that's the thing. I'm kind of known as like a gut health expert, which I never sought out to do that, but it was my story, and that's what people see me for. It's the most common complaint in my practice. I just launched my program. So I'm like, I have a feeling that if I write a book, it'll probably be on gut health in the next couple of years. I might get my doctorate. Dr. Duke sounds kind of cool, right?
Oh, yeah.
I like school now. I'm a nerd. Like, I like researching. And so I would say the next 5 years, like, I really don't want to say, and it's not that I don't want to dream and have goals. It's just that everything's kind of like fell into place as time goes on. And I also I want to spend time as a mom.
You're
and
in a good,
be
you're in
there
a good
for my
place
boys.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I'm not like, I have to achieve this level of success. I definitely feel like a book is in my future. And that's my thing is if I can't help everybody, I want to educate and equip and empower the masses. And how do I do that? That's a great resource. But yeah, I also want to be a mom and, continue.
Which is happening very, very soon.
Yeah. Like in a month or two.
Yeah. Well, you're mom times two.
Number 2.
Yeah. Boy mom times 2. And then, obviously within Fort Worth, like with Restore and Revive is just continue to grow services and offerings to continue to serve the community. It's been awesome getting to know. I mean, it's like a super family oriented environment. It's like we know our clients and our recurring people and our subleasers, and they're really the providers, but they rent space from us. And so, just to continue to grow that. And
I think it's cool to see your story start, right, with you have this like heart to help people, like, and it's in a very intense way, right? It's like you experience trauma, you experience this intensity, you have a heart for that, you have a heart to help them in a traumatic event or like in a traumatic way. And I feel like it's funny how you thought this was going to take shape, but anybody that's an entrepreneur knows that it's always intense. Like, and so your intensity is leaning into doing this business, doing things that you haven't done before. Like, that's some of the most intense like trauma sometimes you can experience, like whenever you're starting a business, but then your heart for helping people, it seems like that has stayed true and consistent through this whole journey. And it's just now you're doing it on a different platform. Now you're doing it a different way. Even talking about a book, like where's your heart? It's still there, trying to help people, trying to like push people forward, push people like in their health, health journey. And so I think that's a pretty cool, theme that's running through this whole journey. I just wanted to point out.
I appreciate that. That's a good, nice little check. That's something I'm going to start asking myself too, probably. Like, does this align with my original plan of
my original goal, my original why, my original mission?
Yeah. That's good. Thanks for sharing that.
Can we so
I want to do some rapid health questions.
Can we pepper you with some quick? I know we've been going for a long time, but this is it's fascinating.
We're totally fine. My favorite is okay, you didn't know about this question, which actually this was all just a natural conversation today.
Dude, yeah.
But yeah, let's just go for it. Ask me my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So coolest treatment out there that's new, like brand new overall health. It's a hard one, right?
Gosh.
Like what's brand new that like I don't know?
Like a multiple choice?
Yeah. Okay. So like overall health, you could do like mental health. You could do muscle weight loss.
Like a magic laser. Do you have a magic laser?
I'll just talk about how about some new upcoming things, right?
Yeah.
That people may not know about now. About. Obviously, IV vitamin therapy is definitely out there.
But you can get it Restore and Revive.
You can get it locally here at Restore and Revive. We custom do IVs, which is really cool. Like we have set packages, but you can also custom do them based off the person, their test, their symptoms. Implementing ozone therapy in IVs is really...
I'm fascinated by ozone therapy.
It's just pure oxygen, right?
Yeah.
And so
I was just going to say, what is that for people? Pure. Okay.
Yeah. And so ozone has a ton of different benefits, from detox to healing to cleaning out. You can do ozone via blood.
Where you take out your blood, you infuse it with
your
ozone.
blood, you infuse it with ozone, and then you give it back to yourself. It's kind of, if you think of like dialysis, like taking it through a filter almost, and then giving it back. So IV vitamin therapy, ozone. You can also
you're going to be offering that, right? Okay.
Yeah. So you can also do ozone via, it's called insufflation. So ears, nose, mouth, you can do that. Ozone's really neat. There's also like ozone saunas, like the HOCAT. It's really neat for inflammation. A lot of this too is like, it can help really sick people, but it can also help well people. Right. And so when I work with my athletes, it's health optimization. It's decreasing inflammation for performance, or just people that just really want to feel good and take their health to the next level or be preventative. So I would say ozone, IV vitamin therapy, peptide therapy is, we briefly spoke about it earlier, but it's amino acid therapy. It is prescription therapy, but there is a lot of people using peptides, and you have to trust and work with someone that knows what they're doing. But it is a form of therapy that I feel like more people are going to start talking about.
And that's different than taking amino acids. I take amino acids almost every day.
Yeah. It's different than taking like some collagen or something. They're targeted specific amino acid that can help everything from MS, like autoimmune diseases, to just,
muscle recovery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So peptide therapy, ozone. I mean, obviously infrared saunas, a lot of people know about that. That's nothing new. But I think that more people are starting to catch on to some of these things.
But a lot of these treatments, like are treatments that like you're not going to get the recommendation from your local doctor,
No.
right? Like that's not in their tool belt. And so
Right.
that's some of the things that like, if you haven't read about those or if you like don't know about those, you need to go just check it out.
What do you have any
about it.
books you recommend? Like if I'm interested in learning about, granted, your book's not out yet.
No, I know. It's not that I don't. There's so many different ones. I would say, like, for autoimmunity, Amy Myers, the doctor that I worked for, is a great book, The Autoimmune Solution. There's thyroid books, there's nutrition books, the gut health. There's just like so many different books for different topics. I wouldn't say there's like a one size fits all that I've found.
Would you say starting with like Instagram and like following a couple people, like if they follow you for gut health and like you speak a lot into that.
Yeah.
Like following different people.
There are
would
certain
be a good
experts.
start.
I like never tell people to Google because like just don't go down the Google rabbit trail.
Yeah.
But if you want to know about
And
a certain
Google blocks
topic,
a lot of it too.
so that's what I can say is like
Google blocks it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is wild. It's like there's certain things that are being blocked or censored or whatever. But like Jolene Brighton, hormone expert. So if you have a hormone question, I'm okay if you Google PMS Jolene Brighton.
Yeah.
Right. There are certain people. Mark Hyman's a super reputable. I mean, he's kind of a leader in this field. Joe Carnahan has amazing resources. Mark Hyman has a ton of books. I mean, he's a great place to start. Will Cole has books. So there's certain people that I admire and respect that are my colleagues, right?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of other people out there that are on Instagram that there's all sorts of certifications that you can get and people claiming to be experts. And again, I'm like, it's amazing because there's a demand. I think there's going to be an over demand and an undersupply of these types of providers. But a lot of these people have interest, but not a lot of experience. And so you just have to be careful who you get your information from.
Do you have people that we should not follow?
No.
You can't say those?
No, I don't have anyone.
Yeah.
I'm like, if there was someone
I feel
that was like
you do. I feel like
no,
you
if
have
there was
some
someone
people
that was like a huge quack that everyone followed and
Okay.
like went down that protocol, I would straight up tell you.
call
But
Yeah, but so like here's a question. It's like Google's blocking, or does Google block any of those people you just listed?
not that I've seen. Certain topics, if you look for, maybe.
Yeah.
Like natural immune system hacks or things like that, maybe. But there are censors for sure. But a lot of these people, I mean, they have Instagram accounts, they have books, they have
been verified, qualified. Like they're like
Totally.
people that are
I
just
listen to Will Cole's podcast.
Yeah.
well respected in the community.
Yeah, Branch Basics. They're a cleaning company, like literally a product line, and they're my good friends, but they're a wealth of information. Like
Yeah.
I literally say, if you want to Google like natural lawn care, Google Branch Basics. They provide a lot of content. So, yeah.
Okay, next question. I'm gonna jump in.
Pepper it, yeah.
What is your morning routine? Like, what do you eat for breakfast and
God.
take?
Pre or post kids?
Well, not in a normal pregnancy life, but like, or maybe. But what is your, like? I would love to open your medicine cabinet, or your pantry. I know you actually share your pantry all the time. You're like, I'm shopping. Here's what I should buy. But what do you eat and drink and take and
Supplements,
do
Yeah.
in the morning?
So, okay, let's like go pre-kids, right? Because morning routine, like you could have a whole morning routine and it just goes to the wayside because your kid decides to wake up at 6:30 and you're like, what the heck? I would say probably my ideal morning routine,
Yeah, there we
honestly,
go.
is like getting up before the kids and having quiet time to myself. And here's just something that I also want to say is the morning starts the night before. So if someone is going to go to bed at midnight and they just want to wake up every day at 5 a.m., I don't think that's healthy.
Yeah.
I think that you should prioritize sleep. And so if you're having to rely on this alarm and you're feeling really yuck every morning getting out of bed, like that's a sign that your body needs sleep.
Yeah.
So I would say even go back to the night before, and I want to go into my morning well rested because that affects your cortisol rhythm for the entire day. And so
How
I would
many hours
say
do you think you truly need?
I'm personally an 8-hour girl. When I'm pregnant, I need more.
Yeah.
Some people are different. I think that people that say that they only need a few hours of sleep, they just don't know what their body, they don't know what it's
it
like
feels like to have
otherwise.
good sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think like it not only during sleep, like our bodies detox, it restores, it does things that it doesn't do during the day. So anyway, ideal morning routine, I would say getting a good night's sleep, waking up with mental clarity, right? Like you want to wake up to start your day, not be dragging to the kitchen. I like lemon water, right? Get the digestion going. I know it's a simple thing, dandelion root tea, things
You
to
just,
detox
you just
the liver.
squeeze some lemon and some
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, dandelion root tea is great. Milk thistle to detox the liver. And I'm also a big fan of like listening to your body. If you're hungry, like, don't try and push that fast, right? Like, if your body is needing something and you're needing fuel for the day, eat. But I personally feel better. I don't do intermittent fasting, like, personally. Just doesn't really work for me for long periods of time. But I personally like just like drinking. I do drink coffee. So ideally, I would say like lemon water, some tea that has some health benefits. I drink black coffee. Okay. If I don't drink black coffee, I'm putting some sort of healthy fat in it.
Like an MCT.
Yeah, MCT, you know,
Coconut.
butter. I like butter.
Yep.
Quality source, grass fed, you know, but I just feel better having like lemon water, tea, and then I'll do some coffee.
Okay.
And, I don't like eating right away for whatever reason. Like, I like to sit down, get a journal, maybe light a candle, diffuse my oils, non-toxic candle, of course.
Oh yeah, here we go.
But that is, I like my set apart time to just think and have mental clarity and be still and quiet. Because as a business owner, I am making so many decisions, you guys know, throughout the day. I mean, it is constant decisions, dissemination of information, patients. I'm constantly making decisions about prescriptions, care plans, supplements. And so for me to just like have that time of like not being pinged, put my cell phone away is really huge. And I feel like that's where a lot of creativity comes in the morning to me of like, I really try to do like a brain dump, you know?
Yeah.
And I like to do my brain dump and journaling and mindfulness before I jump into if I do a quiet time, right? Because then I'm doing my quiet time, like whether that looks like doing a devotional for me or journaling or listening to worship or reading my Bible. Like if I'm doing that, I have the monkey brain. Right. And so I like to do a brain dump before I get into that time. But as far as like food and supplements go, I would say, okay, after my coffee, after my quiet time, I like smoothies. Just the stage of life that I'm in. It's like such a great way to pack in a ton of nutrients without thinking about it, you know, and I'm the freak that will eat like salmon and kale for breakfast. Like I don't have typical breakfasts like muffins
But not a salmon and kale smoothie.
No, but I'm saying like, I would eat real food for breakfast, you know, but I feel like sometimes just being on the go or I know I said pre-kids, but now my life is all I know is having kids, let's be honest. And so sometimes it's easy to just throw in a ton of nutrients, healthy fat, antioxidants, all of that, collagen in a smoothie and just to know that like I'm starting my day off there, you know, because I might be chasing my kid around and getting his diaper on. So smoothies are great ways to like pack in nutrients.
Supplements?
Supplement wise?
Yeah.
All right. So favorite supplements, I personally like methylation support.
Yep.
I really like, which is B vitamins to help support.
Would you say liquid, rub on,
all
medicine,
the above?
like
I would say
anything? Anything
I
or
honestly,
everything? Favorite?
after being pregnant.
Sorry,
and like,
we're doing deep dive here.
no,
so
I'm like, this is just
when
real.
people are talking about
rapid fire.
methylation, we know we're getting into dork world. Yeah.
Like, hold on.
Yeah.
All different kinds. Like I like topical glutathione over your liver at night, right? To help your body detoxify. Like I like oil pooling in your mouth, right?
Yeah, but what do you do?
I know. So what do I do? So
ideal morning. I'm taking my ideal whatever y'all are talking about.
So I take my methylation support, which is B6, B12, B9, some cofactors.
That's a pill. It has all those.
Yeah.
One pill.
Can
The
be.
methylation support.
I take the methylation support.
Okay.
Yes. And that helps give me energy. It helps me detoxify. It can help actually for pregnancy, like with morning sickness. It can help a lot of different things. It's basically I have a genetic mutation that it helps support those processes.
So lots of B in the
MTH.
and then
so
what's the other thing?
MTHFR, I take my methylation support or B vitamins, like a broad spectrum B supreme. So people, entrepreneurs that are under stress, we and athletes that push their bodies, we and moms, postpartum moms. Those are like the three people that I see a lot
people
of.
in America, just
in
in
life.
general.
Let's just be honest. In life, when you are stressed, you constantly are depleting through B vitamins. And so taking a B vitamin, some sort of broad spectrum B vitamin in the morning, that helps me. I just feel like a little pep is in my step. And then, you know, a multivitamin prenatal. I like knocking out a lot of supplements in the morning because sometimes the day doesn't go as planned. You're running late. And so for me, and that's also why I usually eat in the morning after, you know, being up for a couple hours because I can get my supplements in. You know, my supplements are constantly changing.
Is there a multivitamin you really like?
So many for different purposes. I really like brands. I like Thorne Research. I like Metagenics, Pure Encapsulations. I like third-party tested and researched brands. So a lot of people don't know that the supplement industry is not regulated by the FDA. So pharmaceutical meds and food are both regulated by the FDA. Like this is what it claims to have. This is how much fat, whatever. Well, the supplement industry, there's no or little to no
regulation.
oversight or regulation. And so if you're buying like this stuff at Walgreens, Target, GNC even, there's a study or a paper that came out of accusations. It had like ground up rice and protein, like pea protein. And it was claiming to be this really expensive supplement. And so when you choose a supplement, you want to get a brand that's third-party research tested and verified. So basically, hey, I'm hiring an outside company to verify it has what it says it has. It's free of like mercury, heavy metals, pesticides. So I have like a lot of different go-to brands. I wish I could say there's like one. I like orthomolecular. That's the prenatal that I'm on, you know, which is basically my multivitamin. But I would say B vitamins, that I don't have this like whole perfect morning.
Like vitamin D, vitamin C.
Vitamin D, I take vitamin D daily.
Yeah.
I take magnesium every single night. If I could choose one supplement, magnesium is like my drug.
Where everybody's deficient.
Like so deficient. It is like a game changer for so many different things. So I take magnesium at night. Epsom salt bath is also a form of magnesium.
Do you have a go-to magnesium?
Yeah, Seeking Health, optimal magnesium. B vitamins, I like Designs for Health B Supreme.
Man, you're getting all this hacks right now, Jamie.
And then for methylation support, I like Apex Energetics, Methyl SP. And this is the thing where it's like, I'm not tied to one company, so I can literally pick and choose.
Yeah,
you can get all these at Restore and Revive.
Yeah,
right?
you can get all of them at R&R. But yeah, and y'all, I also have to say, like, in different seasons, I use different supplements. So like when I was sick, I was using a lot more supplements. They were way more targeted, antimicrobial herbs, anti-parasitic herbs, gut healing powders. Like right now, I'm in the phase of like, I'm not doing a whole lot of detox. I really like glutathione for detox. It's the body's most powerful antioxidant.
You don't take glutathione every day?
I don't, not pregnant. No. And so right now I'm in the season of growing a baby and eating nutrient-dense food and taking my prenatal and magnesium and B vitamins. And like other than that,
yeah, you're good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
But I feel like at different seasons, and some people that have more symptoms need more detoxification. Some people need more brain health support.
Yeah.
I will also say a lot of people need adrenal support, like cortisol, you know, just because people
deplete it.
Yeah.
Or deficient in like.
But we can't forget the power of free medicine, right? Like you can take all these supplements and do this super, super crazy healthy diet. But it's like if you are not getting your sleep, getting fresh air, getting sunshine.
And if you're just eating Cheetos.
Yeah. Or like spending time with like people, like doing things that you love. Like you could follow this perfect and do hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy and red light therapy and ozone. But like people miss the basics.
Well, you're missing the integrative part of this whole thing. Yeah. If we're just talking about a supplement's going to cure all,
pill for an ill,
then we're literally going. Yeah,
we're replacing a pharmaceutical for a supplement.
Yeah, that's right. And so we're going back to the where we got wrong in the first place. Yeah, and so it's like, how was your day? How did you sleep? How did you interact with? Did you have a really stressful day? It's like, well, yeah, those medicines aren't going to do, or they're not going to do what they need to do.
Yeah,
you know, if you have
they ain't going to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start this day over and kind of redo it and kind of rejuvenate and.
They can help you be more resilient in certain seasons for entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes we get through those seasons where we can't control a lot of things and we need that extra support. But at the end of the day, you can't forget the things that are the hardest to implement.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question, and then we're going to wrap. If you could give any bit of advice to like your younger self, what would it be?
Entrepreneur wise?
No, just anything. Like if you could go back to Taylor 10 years ago or Taylor 3 years ago starting this thing.
Yeah.
What I mean, is there like this piece of advice I wish I knew sooner? Maybe it was sick Taylor, or maybe it was Taylor starting the business.
I would honestly say like you only have one body, and so use it well. And that's body, mind, soul. And honestly, that sounds so cheesy, but my husband and I joke around. He treated his body playing football like his whole life as if he had a rental car and could just trade it in. And just was like, he literally says, he was like, I was so hard on my body. And so for me personally, like, I get it. Like, you don't realize the value of health at a young age, but especially as someone that just cares about longevity and feeling good, whether that's an entrepreneurship and being a mom, like you literally only get one body. And so what you put into it really matters. What you put on it matters. You know, what you feed your mind matters. And so, I know that's cheesy, but it's something that I wish I knew early on, because I've seen the profound impact that it has on me personally and then professionally on others every single day. Like literally life's changed, energy restored, you know, people getting business promotions because they don't have brain fog anymore and they're able to excel and get their continuing education, and even athletes taking it to the next level and not getting hurt because of inflammation. And so I've just seen it so profoundly impact people. And so whether that's supplementation, whether that's working with a provider to get to the root cause, being mindful of what we consume, right? Like not just food wise, not just supplement wise, but also how much social media are you intaking and what does that look like? That's a form of like taking care of your body and your soul. And so, just I feel like you only get one. And
That's
so
great.
use it wisely.
That's good. One, thank you for joining us. This was just fascinating and inspiring.
Yes.
And just even that little bit of advice. I think just looking at you and being around you and hearing this and hearing just your past couple of years and how you're doing and the energy and the joy and the success, I think is also a testament to what you're prescribing for people. Like I think you are also probably your best billboard.
I agree.
Me and my big belly right now.
Yeah.
So,
my pregnant belly.
and I think that's probably part of your success. Like it is you are, your best testimony. So, anyways, this was fascinating. This was so much fun. So appreciate you coming out and joining us for this.
We're going to have round 2 off the air, and we're going to geek out over a ton of medical dork questions.
Can't wait. I'll bring my whole supplement cabinet.
And then we might need to create another podcast just about like
part 2, health hacks.
Yeah.
Love it.
Health hacks with Taylor.
And then so if you ever start a podcast, we have to be on it, and then we can experiment with all of it.
You just want guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Got it. Noted.
We would love to
I'm
be
like,
guinea
hey, y'all,
pigs.
there's this new therapy that came out.
We'll try it.
Yeah,
We'll sign any sort
I
of
believe
waiver
y'all.
release. All right. Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks for having me, y'all. This was fun.
All righty. Congratulations, you made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Stories with Soul. If you enjoyed the interview and like what you heard, please help us out and share, subscribe, and like anywhere you listen to podcasts. When you share and subscribe, it is insanely helpful and allows us to keep producing new episodes. You can always join us directly in the studio by watching the video version on our website, 6thAveStorytelling.com. Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling, an organic marketing company building standout brands on the foundation of story. You're obsessed with your business, and we want to make the world obsessed with it too. Thanks for listening.